We're back. Sorry for the interruption. God. Oops. I don't know why my internet is bad today. It's not even that the internet is like my internet is fine. I don't know why the bitrate's being like, fuck you. Streaming is not okay today. Suck my nut. Anyway, we're back. Let me keep playing the music here. Whoa. All right. I'll be back. Dinner is being crafted. Like Minecraft? Like they're shoving it in a... Alright, well, while you do that, I will go through the important characters. Character index. Wait, hold on. I think last... Does this also lead to... Real quick, just I'm gonna check this real quick here. It is, okay. Actually see how long all these are. Oh yeah, fuck the yeah, these last two are really, really long. So we'll of course keep that up, but we're just gonna... We're just gonna keep that in our back pocket just in case we get to it. Character index. Read bio. I don't want to do. God damn it. You know what's really demotivating? Is it feels like today of all days, it's like, yeah, here's your bitrate being shitty. And let me end the stream in the first fucking hour. You know, that's really fucking demotivating. It feels like every time, right? It feels like every fucking time that I try to stream on Sundays, or days that I should be playing fucking Great Ace Attorney, it just doesn't want me to. You know? It's like, yeah, have fun with that one. Like, have fun trying to stream with a low bitrate. Have fun trying to stream while you feel like shit. Have fun trying to stream while there's fucking personal life things that you need to take care of. It feels like every time a Great Ace Attorney stream, or a stream with Great Ace Attorney that's supposed to be with Great Ace Attorney is in the mix, it's like, no, you don't get to do that. That's not okay. You don't get to do that. It's really fucking demotivating to have this happen.
And watch me walk it off. Little things I left behind in other worlds at other times.
I just
as I try to make it by. So I go digging down deep, watch the other lives leap into a hole.
I think we're gonna end here. And I think what's gonna happen is this part of the stream will not be archived. It will just be on Twitch, but you know, because we didn't really do much in terms of really figuring the stuff out or really reading stuff. But that first part will be. And then on Tuesday, we'll try and continue this. You know, Tuesday will be the interesting stuff, like the characters and all that. So. It was really good movie. I'm now starting to wonder, like, have all of my streams been again in the red in terms of bitrate? I haven't really checked.
Before invisible, the big square hole in my life can't be filled at all. It only takes, grows and feeds off of mistakes. So there's no time now.
This is spooky music.
Life change. Are you still watching?
You know what? No, we're gonna work through this. We're gonna work through this. We'll probably continue on Tuesday anyway, but we're gonna work through this. Sometimes life will try to kick you over, and you gotta say no. Fuck you. And that is what we will do. All right. Maisie the Mutt, as you can see, is definitely a Mickey Mouse sort of character, just by her design and her design, her feel, really. But before we start with the article, let's actually hear Maisie herself.
Well, ain't that a coinky doink? Maisie the Miracle Mutt at your service.
That is, of course, Squeaks the Corgi, creator of Shipwrecked 64. And this is Spook Maisie's theme. So some people have speculated Maisie's theme is a spectrogram, but every time people have run it through a spectrogram, it's come back with kind of nothing. So I will say, as regarding to the stream, if it happens a second time, then we'll end. But if the fucking shit happens a second time, then it's like, all right, not meant to stream today, but we will of course persevere for right now. All right. The Miracle Hound, the Marvelous Mutt, Maisie M. Mutt, is perhaps the most famous character archived on our database. Storied character with love for the creepy, the ghostly, and the ghoulish. Her stories have ranged from the playful follies, from playful follies to slapstick nightmares. Making her debut in the 30s, Maisie was a quick hit with audiences and soon would blaze a trail for her studio, Liquid Laugh Productions. She appeared in multiple cartoon spin-offs, series, and movies, and has, of course, launched the creation of the Maisie Land theme park. Maisie made her first appearance in the theatrical short Dizzy Divots as a background character. Head artist and co-studio founder Ivan Hoth liked her design so much she reused her design in Maybelle Braybells as a co-protagonist to the studio's regular Hobble the Hound. However, as time went on, Maisie would overshadow Hobble and become the central face of Liquid Laugh Productions. Kind of like Oswald, in a way. Abandoned in a graveyard, adopted by a living haunted house, and raised by hundreds of ghosts, Maisie the Mutt is probably the most morbid cartoon character hosted on the website, although such elements were not uncommon in older cartoons. Despite being so grim, Maisie's fictional backstory was definitely more fleshed out than other well-known characters like Webby Webster, Mr. Leeds, or even Hobble the Hound. Two of those characters we have not ever seen. I'm not sure if they're real-life characters or if they're from here, and if we'll ever get backstories for those characters. But, you know, Maisie's association with the supernatural has always been strong, even playing a gravedigger in her original background appearance. While most characters of the time were running away from monsters and being menaced by trumpet-playing ghosts, Maisie could be found tagging along for the ride and being great pals with similarly ghoulish characters. Maisie is a bit of an anomaly in how her early cartoons portrayed her. Since interchangeable roles were not uncommon in early cartoons. However, Maisie would just as often play the villain as she would the hero during her original run. Most famously in the first short with her as a protagonist, Red Riding Gloves, Maisie played a devil-like figure, selling a down-on-their-luck musician her pair of magic gloves for a terrible price. In another episode, White Whittling Shears, Maisie the Mutt would menace a local farmer by shearing his sheep until being caught and banished to the dark forest. Throughout her run, however, Maisie would ultimately be Maisie has ultimately been a force for good, antagonizing the haughty and mighty of her cartoon world while being a sympathizer to any creep, goblin, or otherwise outcast creature. Over time, the association with Maisie the Mutt had with rituals and the occult and the forces of the underworld would be phased out by her owners instead being replaced with an element of her magic, or her magic hat providing her powers. Indeed, Maisie's image has changed significantly over the years, not only in visual design but in surroundings and tone as well. But throughout it all, Maisie has retained the same traits: free-spiritedness, gravitation towards outsiders, and being prone to making any situation worse. Although an immensely popular character, the detail of Maisie Mutt's history are as difficult to parse as a character with so much fame that she has equally as many varying accounts from individuals and organizations. We are dedicated to helping you understand the true Maisie, and the Maisie of all sides and angles. Maisie is a really, really fun character. Even just from these images, you can see how fun she is. But we're gonna go ahead. We're gonna go ahead into Creative Archives, and the cool thing is you can actually search by tag for certain characters, like, of course, Maisie the Mutt. So we're going to go through some of Maisie the Mutt's Creative Archives history, just a little bit of it. Maybe all of it, maybe not all of it. But I do want to recognize that sometimes these things aren't related to the main story, but they're still being made, and they're still made with, honestly, such love and care. Like, the Maisie dress-up doll and the Maisie painted pumpkin, those have nothing to do with the story. They're just really cool instances of the character. Go Maisie the Mutt comic. Oh, by the way, we do have some trick-or-treaters in some of the pages here. They're just saying stuff about like the incident that happened on Halloween, as we know, Ian and the Found Finders tragic demise. Maisie the Mutt comic, coming from a background in strip illustrations. Liquid Laugh founder Ivan Hoth would continue to draw comic strips of his character long after leaving the comic strip industry. Here you can see one of his comics featuring Maisie the Mutt and Hubble the Hound. These comics, much like the earlier Liquid Laugh cartoons, were grim in nature and showcased Maisie as a morally ambiguous character. From her earliest days, Maisie was characterized as a regular grave robber and groundskeeper. In Ivan's words, it was the perfect profession for a mutt to have. 2-panel comic strip. The Hound and Maisie Braybell. 2 rubber hose characters. They are shown digging up graves. Maisie grabs a disembodied skeleton arm and says, "I'll chew on this later." So these characters aren't really integral to the story. You can find a bunch of them throughout the site. I mean, there is like a whole, like, what, 2-ish pages just of links to where you can find all of fucking these motherfuckers right here. And we will see a couple of them as we go through. So yeah. So we don't really we don't really need to look at the Maisie dress up doll. So we're gonna be looking at like Maybelle Braybells, Maisie and the Lonely Ghost. Maybe we'll look at Maisie and the Mutt sketches. The Red Riding Gloves, of course. Maisie the Mutt and Chopper. Maisie the Mutt in 1950s. And maybe Maisie in the counterculture music, but Maisie the Mutt marches, death marches on will definitely. Oh my god, you're so cute and beautiful. Want a hug? I always want hugs. I love hugs. Hugs are nice. Maybelle Braybells. Maybe you want money, drugs. You want drugs? Nah, I'm okay with drugs. I'm okay on drugs. I'm fine without having drugs. Featuring co-star Maisie. This is a poster for. Oh, hold on. Probably should have turned the music back on. Featuring co-star Maisie. This is a poster for early cartoons of Hollow the Hound. In this particular animation, the two companions go dancing through the valley and accidentally anger the spring spirit, Mary Braybell. These two were frequently portrayed as neighbors that got up in trouble, such as antagonizing local farmers' animals. You're okay on drugs, I see. Although a side character at the start, Maisie would eventually go on to become so popular that she progressed to co-star, then replaced Hobble the Hound altogether. Well, let's see. Yeah, we'll read this little blurb. This decorative design shows how Maisie went through yet another redesign in the 1950s, and it was directly influenced by the popular animation style of the time, UPA. Don't ask me what UPA stands for. Maisie has gone through the most redesigns of any other fictional character in the archive, since Liquid Laugh makes it a point to monitor the animation industry and updated their characters as needed to keep them relevant. Maisie and the Lonely Ghost. Oops. Yeah, here's another one of the trick-or-treaters. This short children book detailed Maisie's adventures on Halloween. In it, Maisie encounters a very lonely ghost and chases off some witches who are harassing him. There are recurring instances of Maisie befriending ghosts and other creepy creatures in various media after this, resulting in the common tagline for Maisie, "Friend of Anyone." In addition, Maisie's meaner side can be seen here, although this personality would be chipped away over time. Maisie the Mutt, a cartoon dog wearing a red sweater, black costume cape, and a black hat, strolling through graveyard whistling. Maisie is sitting in a graveyard by a large bedsheet ghost. She's happily talking to him. What's with the banana? Bringing up all the jelly time. Now there you go. Same ghost being harassed by a group of witches riding above him on broomsticks. Maisie reassuring the ghost who is cowering behind her. Maisie wearing a pumpkin with a scary painted face on it to scare the witches. She stands on the edge of the dark night in a way that makes her feel abstract and terrifying. I love that so much. That's so good. These sketches here feature one of the many design updates for Maisie the Mutt, as it was needed for the animator to provide a greater range of movements for her. Ivan Hoth would often tell friends that Maisie was based on a dog-like person I know, but would never clarify who or what he was referring to. Thus, Maisie's inspiration was never confirmed. There are several dog-like people. I wonder. Oh, damn. Let's see. Red Riding Gloves. This is a reference to a character. Drawn by Ivan Hoth for Maisie the Mutt's premiere feature, this is the very first cartoon in which Maisie the Mutt stars the protagonist without her co-star Hobble the Hound. As an animated delight for audiences across the country, this episode is what sprung Maisie the Mutt from a moderately popular character to a cartoon star. The subject matter of the cartoon was fairly grim compared to modern depictions, with Maisie playing the role of a traveling salesman/devil archetype. In this animated short, Maisie the Mutt encounters a down-on-his-luck musician looking to make his fortune. Maisie offers him her magical gloves, and upon wearing them, the musician becomes a success overnight. However, as was common for these older Maisie-centered cartoons, the book to the musician's skill had a terrible and hilarious price. At night, when the musician slumbered, the gloves, with his hands attached, would spring off his arms and begin to play music all on their own. Maisie the Mutt would be present for those during those nighttime ventures and orchestrate the hands, dancing and causing sleepless nights for the musician. From there, the cartoon would show the musician's fruitless attempts to deal with the nightly occurrence and rid himself of the gloves altogether. The episode ends with Maisie chasing the musician into the sunrise, with his gloved hands in hot pursuit of their owner. As you can see, look at these pieces of art. They are very authentic to an old animation style. I really, really like that. Hold on, that sounds eerily copyrighted. Maisie the Mutt, 1950. Much like Dorothy Doo or Beatrice B.E., Maisie would change her style over time as cultural and artistic shifts emerged in American animation. This Maisie redesign was an attempt by Stencil Line to mimic the style pioneered by the former members of the company. As mentioned in the Telelectric article, this was largely caused by the union-busting practices of Liquid Laugh and Stencil Line, of course. Although many artists stuck around and Ivan helped to fight for better conditions, the constantly looming shadow of Stencil Line was too much for the workers. These workers would leave and go on to form their own studio, which focused on creative expression through abstract art. Seeing their success, Stencil Line pressed Ivan to follow suit. Ivan was not particularly fond of this design for Maisie, or rather, he disliked the attempt to chase current trends and copy his peers. This design would not last for long, and would quickly be replaced by the design seen in Death Marches On. Ethan Mutton counterculture music, is there? Okay, actually there's not too much in this, so we'll go ahead and read this. One of the most iconic bands of the 70s punk movement, the Ink Dwellers helped popularize the appropriation of Maisie as a countercultural symbol, and their work would galvanize the punk movement to newer heights. This album was released as the first big peak. Was released at the first big peak in the band's popularity. It served as a rather stunning display of not only taking Maisie the Mutt and using her for their music, but also made it as a response to the large big band of the hippie movement known as the Harmonias. The album contained such as Bloody Red Riding Gloves and I Don't Want to Go to My Room, Mom. The dichotomy of those two titles. Bloody Red Riding Gloves actually sounds like a punk song. I Don't Want to Go to My Room, Mom sounds like a punk song that was written by a 13-year-old. Don't phase, Mom. I love that. The latter one being one of the above mentioned songs targeted at the Harmonias. Oh, that's right. They have a song called "In My Room," whose music and hippie background the Ink Dwellers and many of the members of the punk movement found to be politically shallow and lacking the bones of any real social change. The music was often distributed unofficially through bootleg recordings, and was a practice encouraged by the band themselves. Something which likely helped them become so prolific amongst the population. The album was sparked a retaliatory response. The Harmonias titled "My Room Is My Only Home." A bunch of cassette tape art. Small black dog laying next to a tombstone. A bar covers the dog's face, and a long wavy broken chain trails behind. Grave keeper, blade riding gloves. Shit's disturbing. I don't want to go to my room, Mom. Side B, as you are now. A good death between the lines. Fuck your flowers. Fuck your couch. As for the content of the song, they ranged a wide variety of social issues, from outcry against police brutality, demand for social change through taking action together, the embrace of death, and again mocking the hippie movement that preceded the punk movement. To learn about this hostility, refer to the history article about the Ink Dwellers. Their most well-known song, "Bloody Red Riding Gloves," begins with the following words: "Little ready blood, red riding gloves, muzzle as white as a mourning dove." And this obviously is a reference to Maisie the Mutt. The Ink Dweller likes to play coy with the use of the character in their lyrics, never directly naming her, but describing her and using references to her older cartoons. It was a method that infuriated stencil-line lawyers, but also shows the subtle, unnamed way Maisie manifested within their work. I love that the band was like, we like Maisie the Mutt, we think her, and we think she's cool and a cool part of the punk movement. We can't describe her, but we will absolutely say and infer. We can't say it's her, but we will absolutely infer and describe her as this is Maisie. And you can't sue us because you can't say we're using your character because we don't even say her name. It could be any dog. It's a long one. This is definitely a song. This room called it the Lamb? How? Remember this being from Cult of the Lamb? You know what? We'll read this article and then we'll end for tonight. I'm trying to push through, but I am not feeling it. We'll read this, and then we'll end for the night, and then on Tuesday we'll continue this. Maybe, I don't know. Maisie the Mutt and Death Marches On. One of the most important cartoons in Maisie the Mutt's history, the cartoon marked the end of the period in which specters and ghouls reigned within the artwork. As discussed countless times throughout the history and archives, Maisie was a character who started with a very macabre nature. Following Liquid Laugh's success and subsequent acquisition by Stencil Line, the darker features of our cartoons were removed from the works themselves and from history. However, this was not a change that happened overnight. Despite their new owners and demands, from Stencil Line's top brass, Ivan, and by extension Lewis, had held a degree of control within their studio. If displeased with the instructions from above, Liquid Laugh's normally fluid animation output had a way of slowing to tar-like speed. When he was briefly fired from his own company by the new owners, the entire animation studio, which, if you remember, consisted of friends of friends, went with him, and Stencil Line panically rehired him in fear of financial losses. Still framed from Death Marches On. George Lyman, key art director for Death Marches On. Drawing gifted to Ivan Hoth by George Lyman after he was fired from Liquid Laugh. Drawing jokingly gifted to Ivan Hoth by George Lyman after he was quickly rehired by Stencil Line. Following this instance, Ivan will go on to negotiate the details of his employment and that of his studio workers, something Stencil Line rashly complied with. No, there was no illusions of any sort of friendship between the two companies, no matter how things may have looked on the surface. However, what that meant was that ultimately, up until Ivan's death, Stencil Line left the studio's animations alone. Yes, there were occasional acts of malice, such as theft of Millie Moonbeam. Stencil Line drafted the contract, of which Liquid Laugh had no part in approving, but Maisie, in the nature of her cartoons, remained fairly free-range in terms of content they would cover. Death Marches On would be the final animation created under Lewis and Ivan's guidance, and was a spectacle to be sure. Everyone in the company pitched in for the production. After months of work, the final result was a ghoulish animation detailing Maisie the Mutt, her men and ghostly family members, and the dead of the world to returning Hobble the Hound before enthusiastically burying him alive for trying to steal her magic hat. Jesus. The production could be seen as a send-off from Ivan, whose health was rapidly deteriorating at this point. And one could argue that the subject of mortality was weighing heavily on his mind. The animation switched between many settings, as Maisie's living haunted house, a vast graveyard that stretched on like a city block, and an abstract void-like space in which ghosts and corpses fell into a vast pile of recently deceased far below the soil. The last location was visited when Maisie grabbed Hobble and jumped into a coffin that went down for miles. The animation was very controversial internally, with Stencil Line nearly firing Ivan again. However, by this point, he had become a well-known face in American culture. Though firing him would have caused unwanted controversy. In this way, Ivan continuously skirted the line and escaped his employer's wrath, much like Barbara Massey and Dorothy Due fame. The man had an unusual pattern of getting what he wanted despite all odds. What was this animation trying to say? Well, many people have proposed that behind the silly nature, there were, as is all true art, political messages hidden within it. It's not that hard to believe. Maisie says a lot about death in this cartoon, talking to Hobble, who had been wearing her hat, heard wearing her hat could prevent death, about his foolishness and what a party death could be. He showed him dead oil barons, preachers, saints, and many more. Many well-known famous historical figures that they all slept beneath the earth. In the end, the animation, Hubble would concede that Maisie had a point about all of this before going to live life, hilariously walking off a cliff. Following this animation, Ivan Hoth would pass on, leaving Lewis and Maisie behind. After Lewis left the company, Stencil Line would rapidly sanitize and reshape Maisie the Mutt into an American sweetheart, in the words of the new Liquid Laugh head, Norris Tillman. It is an identity that Maisie as a character would not escape until the late 70s. Alright. So, this was short. I'm sorry. Having your stream crap out on you just kind of, makes you not want to continue. So, we might continue this on Tuesday. We might not. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if we'll be able to continue doing stuff like this on stream. Maybe it was just a one-time thing. I'm not sure. Anyway, until I see you on Tuesday, though, I hope you're all having a wonderful night/day wherever the hell you live. And bye.
We are so glad you came. Bye-bye. 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 Bye-bye now. Bye. Bye-bye. Remember, please discard all candy wrappers and popcorn containers in the nearest trash receptacle.